Woohoo! And we're live once again on another Tuesday, and I have a guest and friend in the house today. I have Tracy Bedwell coming all the way from the UK, and she's getting ready to go to Dubai tomorrow. So we've got to make this LinkedIn Live quick. But fabulous to have you on the show, Tracy, and we have a fabulous topic. Before we get stuck in, though, can you just tell people who you are and what you do? And then I have a question I want to begin with. So go ahead.
Well, thank you for having me on, Gillian. It's a pleasure to be here. I feel like I should have a hat or something. I was watching your little thing, and they're all on with fancy backgrounds and hats. I feel very underprepared for this in terms of props. But thank you for having me. As Gillian said, my name is Tracy, and I run a sales training company. Well, it's actually a soft skills company. So we do sales training, leadership training, Lean Six Sigma training, all over the globe. But we're based in the UK and the Middle East.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of all over the globe, because I too am a digital nomad, so it just intrigued me. And I had to ask you, how did you become international? Because I was talking before that like so many people are like local, maybe they go to their state, maybe they go to their country, but you're like worldwide. So can you tell us the story about how that even happened?
I think like most things in my life, by accident. I have a saying, Gillian, never say no to an opportunity. And I kind of lived by that all of my life. So when I started off the business, it was really before the internet, and I was just in the UK because all I had is a phone book. You know, the old-fashioned phone books. And I was literally going through companies in a phone book, ringing up, cold calling, sort of saying, hey, you know, are you interested in training? Do you use external training companies? After a few years, the internet came about. I think we had like a bit of a rubbish website and maybe put a few things on different people's websites. And somebody contacted me from Dubai and said, hey, I found you on the internet. Don't know how. And would you like to come over and run a course for us? It was a call center course. And I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of Dubai at that point. But I thought, well, I've never been to Dubai. Why not? Let's say yes. So off I went. And I just saw this massive opportunity when I got there for learning and development. I was so excited. I thought, I'm just going to set a business up here. So I did. And it grew in the Middle East. I just kept going back over, making meetings. And it was hard then because, you know, you couldn't find everything on the internet like you can now. And then after a while, somebody in America asked me to go over, and I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go and do it there. And what I now do is whenever I go to a new country, if we don't have any clients in that country, or we don't have many clients, I get on LinkedIn and I have a look for some new clients. And I think I'm going to add a few days, and I'm going to make some meetings, and I'm going to try and grow my business there. So I'm open to any part of the world within reason. And yeah, we just use it as an opportunity. If there's somewhere I want to go and I've not been, I tag on some meetings whilst I'm there on holidays. If I'm doing a training course, or if any of my trainers are doing a training course, we tag on meetings and try and grow the business there. Simple.
That's brilliant. And I love it because it allows you to share your passion of what you're doing, but a love of travel. So it's like, okay, what country do I want to go to tomorrow?
I have two passions. I love running my business and I love traveling, and they work really well hand in hand together. And there's nowhere in the world that you can't do business really. So I'm excited always to try new places, find new clients. And I rarely say no unless it's a particularly unsafe place or a particularly not a good fit for a client.
I love that. And I love that. And I actually, in my heart, I have a strategy of, I don't just say yes, I say yes once because I want it. And yes, I'm committed. So it's like when I do something, I do it 100% and a little bit more because I feel you have to go all in. If you're going to say yes, just go all in. So
I'm like, sure, I don't want to get to 80 and think, why didn't I take that job in Kazakhstan? I would have loved to have done that. Why didn't I take it? You know, so I generally say yes to most opportunities that come my way because, you know, good things come from a lot of them.
I love that. Okay, so speaking of opportunities, so our
Yeah.
topic today is leveraging LinkedIn groups and events can be audio events, LinkedIn and live events like what we're doing today,
Mhm.
to supercharge your sales strategy. And Tracy, I just have to say that I'm so glad that you made it, because as a live host, I always have to go, okay, well, if my guest doesn't show up, what would I be able to do? And I'm like, I can't do this topic. So I'm so glad you're here, because
That's fine.
sales is kind of one of those things that's kind of like kryptonite. I think I'm using the Superman metaphor, right? Where it's like the one thing where people go, oh, sales, I don't know how to use sales, and sales plus strategy.
Mhm.
So kind of talk to us about groups. What's going on in groups? How are you using groups, and sort of how does it all go together?
Okay, well, I could talk for sales for a week. So this is only a very small part of sales on LinkedIn, but I feel it's a part of sales that most people are not taking advantage of. In fact, I would say 99.9% of people are not taking advantage of the benefit of using groups on LinkedIn to grow your brand and to generate new leads and to be seen as the expert in your field. I always think groups are such a low-hanging fruit to
Hmm.
get business from, and yet so many people are just not involving themselves in them. I think most people here on LinkedIn are members of several groups, but they probably never visit them.
Mm.
And a lot of groups are like tumbleweed. They just sort of sit there and roll on and roll on, and nothing good comes from them. So my first tip would be find the right groups.
Mm.
So for example, you can pop in the search bar at the top, sales training, learning and development, real estate agents in Dubai, pharmaceutical in Switzerland, or what, put in what it is that you want to do business in or want to be known for. Put it in the search bar at the top and then click on groups underneath it. And that will tell you how many groups there are around that subject area. Now you need to be careful, because I popped sales in before to see how many came up for sales, and it was like over 100,000, and you can't
No.
start on that. I then put sales training in, and that brought it down to 3,500. But then I put sales training United Kingdom, and that came up with 25 groups. So you can be a little bit detailed in your search to try and narrow that down, because there's no other filters other than hitting the group to find the groups. I put real estate agents in, and hundreds of thousands of groups came up, but real estate agents in Dubai brought up 400 and odd groups. So, be a bit detailed in what it is you're searching for to start with, I would say. Then just have a look at those groups. It gives you a little bit of an overview of them in the list, and it tells you how many people are members of that group. So you can click on the group without being a member and have a read about it and see what it's about. A lot of them won't be applicable to you. I would then say join 6 to 8 good groups. Okay, no more, because you can't manage more than that. If you feel that sounds too many, join 4 to start with, but just join a small number of good groups, and mix the groups up in terms of size of members. So I joined 8 when I started my group strategy, if you like. I had 2 that I've got quite a lot of members, so more than 10,000 members. And then my other 6 were niche groups. So mine were all to do with learning and development, because that's the type of company I run. And my other 6 are quite niche. So one of them has only got 100 and odd members in it. A couple of them have got maybe 500 members. I think one's got 1,000, one's got 3,000. And then my last 2 are more than 10,000. So I went for 6 lower, more niche, and then 2 wider. So that would be my second tip. Once you've narrowed down your search field and found your list of groups, join a small amount and choose your numbers. So if you're going to join 4, join maybe 1 with a big membership and 3 with a smaller membership. And the reason that is you're a big fish in a small pond in a smaller group. So you haven't got as many potentials, but you're not fighting as much airtime and airspace in it. So you can very quickly become the go-to person in that group. Whereas when you're in a big group of 40,000 members, you have got a much wider reach and a lot wider opportunity in terms of the members to look at, but you're fighting for a place in that group, and you've got to really be good to stand out in that big group. So that would be my first tip. My second tip would then be, well, actually, when you join a group, all of those members then become available to you. So once you join a group, if it's got 3,000 people in it, once they accept you into that group, you can see who those 3,000 people are. And you can message those 3,000 people. And it's not an in-mail. And it doesn't come out of, you don't have to have premium to do that. You can instantly message any of the members in a group, even if you're not connected to them. So that is a really interesting thing, that all of those people become available to you, and you can search them down and you can look at them from location, and you can, so it's a really interesting thing to have a look at who's in that group, who may be good contacts, who may be a good potential client. So I think that's a really interesting thing about groups. What I then do is I then suggest to people, make a post once a week. Because most people don't post in groups. Most people join them and do nothing.
Wallflowers.
Or they advertise, they're spamming the groups. Buy this, look at this website, look at my offer. Put a really good post in those groups once a week. Now, I use the exact same post in all of my 8 groups. I just do one post a week for my groups, and I do it on a Wednesday.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. It's one extra post a week.
Is it the same post that you do on LinkedIn, though?
No, it's a separate post.
A separate post. Okay. I think
so
that's
I do a
good.
separate post for those 8 groups, because it's really relevant to what those 8 groups are about, because those 8 groups are really about learning and development. And I post generally about sales on LinkedIn, because that's my passion and that's what my company is called. But actually, as a company, we are a learning and development company. So my groups are all around learning and development, and I make a post and I think to myself, what is relevant to the people in these groups? What's happening in the world of learning and development right now? What can I share with these groups? Because most of the people in these groups are heads of HR, heads of learning and development, trainers, internal trainers, they're all to do that. So what would be useful to them? Is there anything I know as an ex-head of learning and development and as a trainer myself that might help them in their role? Has anything happened in the industry recently? Is there any new thought processes? Is there any new articles that have come out? So I think about what would be interesting to that group. I do one post a week, and I post the same post in all 8 groups. It goes instantly into 6 of them because there's no criteria. They just let the posts in. 2 of the groups, and I think they're the bigger groups, they have to be approved.
Okay.
And they get approved about 80% of the time, I would say. I just keep doing it every week. Sometimes the odd one they don't approve. It is what it is. But I've been doing this now for about 6 months more. And my average views on those group posts are between, on a bad week, 200,000, on a good week, 600,000 views.
Wow. Wow.
I do quite well in the groups.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
I get
amazing.
probably about, I don't know, reshares on 2,000 or 3,000 reshares of my posts. I get, I don't know, 5,000 likes, many comments. And I've noticed in a lot of the groups, I'm pretty much the only person posting weekly something interesting. And it's got to the point now that some people are saying, I wait for your post in that group.
Wow.
So
that's the best compliment.
That's the best compliment you can get. So do one post, make it really adding value to what that audience might want. I never sell anything. I never mention my company. I never say buy this. I just give information that creates me as an expert in that field and adds value to the people who are reading it.
So
So
you're showing up as the thought leader. It's
I'm
it's
showing
kind
up
you're
as a
it's
thought
kind of
leader.
like you got a little flag and you're leading the charge, like, follow me. I'm
I
giving
am.
some relevance here.
I am.
And that's amazing. That's
So how do
amazing.
I turn that from that into leads? Well, what happens is a lot of people like those posts, a lot of people reshare those posts, and a lot of people comment on those posts. So I instantly have a look at who's liked them, who's commented, who's reshared them, and I see, are they a potential for me to have as a connection, or maybe as a potential client? And
Mm.
if they are, I then reach out to them, make a connection, and say, thank you so much for commenting on my post, for resharing my post. And we start a conversation. So it's a really good conversation starter for people whom are ideal connections and potential clients.
Mm.
So I think that's a really important point. A little story, as you said, I'm off to the Middle East tomorrow for a week, and I'm going to different parts of the Middle East. So I'm in Dubai, I'm in Oman, I'm in different places. So one of my groups is learning and development managers in Dubai. One is learning and development managers in Oman, and I've gone into those groups a week or so ago, looked for people who've liked and commented on my posts in the past, or just people who are in those groups as members, and said, hey, I'm in town, I think it'd be really great to meet you. Are you up for it? And I've filled 50% of my meetings just from groups
Wow.
because they know me from the group and they feel comfortable because we're in the same group. So,
Wow.
you can either get leads from people who like and comment and share your posts, or if you're going to be in that part of the world where they are, and they know you from the group, they're always more willing to have a meeting with you. So I find groups super helpful in that respect. But
Wow.
it's just like normal LinkedIn. We can't just post our own stuff. We have to engage on other people's as well. So what I tend to do is Wednesday morning is my group day. So I'll put my own post up. I sit around and babysit my own posts, but I also look at the other posts from the last week while I'm babysitting my own posts, and go in and make some comments and add some value to other thought leaders in the group. And equally, some of my comments on other posts in the group, I've had similar, 20, 30 likes on my own comment on somebody else's post. So you have to engage in the groups in other ways, not just posting your own material.
I like it.
I don't really visit the groups any other day apart from a Wednesday. Maybe at the weekend, because I've had a lot more comments and I go back in and reread them and, answer my comments and have a little look around and see if there's any other interesting posts. But for me, groups are probably one of my biggest sources of leads on LinkedIn.
Wow. That's amazing. I've never heard this from somebody else before. So it's kind of like,
You have to put the effort in. You have
yes.
to choose the right ones and put the effort in. But if you're doing it right, and the fact is, there's like this many people doing it right. There's just nobody doing it. So you've got a massive opportunity there. And LinkedIn are really pushing groups at the moment. So LinkedIn are recommending groups to people, which they didn't used to do in the past. Have you thought about joining this group?
Right.
And it's funny, I was talking to a previous guest of yours the other week, and she said to me, Tracy, you're really good in groups. And I said, how do you know? She said, because all of a sudden you started to pop up in my newsfeed, your posts in groups that I'm not a member of are coming up in my newsfeed. And then a few other people have said that in the last couple of weeks to me. Your post in that group has come up in my newsfeed. So I think LinkedIn are now pushing posts that I make in groups to my own connections who are not in those groups. So I think they really are starting to push groups a bit more.
It's interesting too, because you wonder, is it because you're getting such great response within those groups? So again, it's almost like you're being rewarded for not only for being like a good group ambassador. You're producing valuable content that's engaging the group, and it's almost like LinkedIn's going, let's let other people in on this party.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that, because who knows how LinkedIn decides what they push in their algorithms. Nobody really
Right,
knows that.
right. That's true.
But
That's true.
what I will say is it's not always the posts in the big group that are coming up in my connections news feed. So there's a group that's like a mid-sized group that's only got a couple of thousand people in it that may have only had like 100 likes.
Mm,
And it's that post that a few people have seen recently.
that's
So
cool.
I don't know really. I don't know. But what I do
I'm,
know is, sorry, I was going to say,
oh,
but what I do know is on a Wednesday when I put a post out in the groups, not only does it have all that other things I said, I probably up my followers by another 100 every Wednesday.
that is amazing too. Wow. Wow. Because, nowadays it's like everybody seems to be getting such slow traction, and it's just like, and I know when everybody like lost like, hundreds and hundreds of followers, some
Yeah,
people lost thousands.
yeah,
It's a slow climb back up. So
yeah.
before we go on to the next, because I have some more questions, but before we go on, I just want to check in with our audience today, make sure everybody's here and see if anything pops out. So we have Jeff Young, who is in the front row joining us from Columbus, Ohio today.
Hi,
Hi,
Jeff.
Jeff. Thanks for being here. And he jumped over to LinkedIn as well. So I love it. He straddles to YouTube and LinkedIn, which is
Wow.
great. And we have Mary Wu joining us today, and John is here, and it's through John. I think we either met through John or we met through This Little Girl Is Me.
It was this little girl post. It
Yep.
was this little girl post that you
Yep.
prompted me to put up.
Yep. And it was our shared passion as children and books. So it's
Yes.
just amazing what can connect us. And that was years ago. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
just
it is.
brilliant. It's just brilliant. So John says, good to see Tracy as a guest instead of a host today. Her live audios are always full of interesting content. And that's exactly what I want to talk to you about in a second, is the live audio, because that's an amazing place as well. So thanks for joining us, John. We have Marcia, who is also a big fan of audios, and so LinkedIn audio. So Marcia says that it's always a pleasure being on this platform. She calls this Teach Tuesday because she shows up for these lives, and she says she always learns something new, Tracy. And then we have Wasim. So what do you advise me as a new startup sales training company to approach new clients? Great question.
It's a great question. It's not one I can answer really succinctly, but I'll try and give you a few tips. Like I say to everybody, so you've got your personal profile on LinkedIn, and it is really important that you get your personal profile right to start with, because that really is your landing page. It's your own personal website. So the one thing I say to everybody when we do the LinkedIn training is start with your profile and get your profile right. Once you've got your profile right, start building your connections. So work out who your ideal client is. So is it head of sales? Is it head of learning and development? Are they in Dubai? Are they in Saudi? Are they in America? Are they in Poland? I don't know, but work out who your ideal client is and start sending connection requests out and following them and commenting on their posts. Once you've got your connection strategy right, you then have to get your engagement strategy right. So think about engaging in other people's posts, engaging with your new connections, having conversations with them. You need to have your posting strategy right. So what do I post? How often? What am I going to talk about? What do I want to be known for? All of those things are important on normal LinkedIn. Then we've got the company page. So I would recommend that you set up a company page for your company. And it's a very similar principle on the company page. Get the company page right, get your posting strategy right, learn about company pages and how they differ to the personal pages, because there is some sort of different, there are some different rules and tips on those two things. And then also think about using groups, think about using events. Give to get. The more you give, the more you show people what it is you can do. I'm a great believer in give away 20% of what you do for free, and people will then pay for the other 80%. So give to get. And maybe after you've done all that, if you really are still searching for clients, invest in Sales Navigator and learn how to use that. But there's no point in doing that unless you've got all the other stuff right.
I love that.
That helps. In a very small overview.
I love that. I love that. And you're right. It's complicated. It's complicated to just do that answer in 2 minutes, but
There is no quick
brilliant.
wins. There's no
Yeah.
quick wins, you
No,
know.
you got to
It took
roll
me
up the
2
sleeves, put in the work.
It took
Put
me
in the
2 or
work.
3 years in the real world to start growing my sales training business properly. And it took me at least 6 months of being on here every day before I saw one tidbit. There's no quick wins.
So no, I always call it, there's no Disneyland fast pass, folks. You just
not
have to
in
get
sales.
in line.
It is consistency and learning the right methods and doing the right thing. And eventually, if you do that day in, day out, it pays off.
Yep. So we have Tina joining us from Belgium. So we got everybody coming in.
Tina's
from
my next guest on my
I know, which
Tina's
is
my guest
awesome.
on my next LinkedIn audio, and I'm super happy about that because it's on a subject I don't know much about.
Yes.
So I'm really happy about that.
And Tina is the epitome of international because she speaks 9 languages. I say she speaks 10 because she draws and she does these little sketch notes. So she's doing, pictures, which is another form of language. It's like
Wow.
she should have been alive in the Egyptian times, and we would have seen hieroglyphics with Tina's little sketch notes.
I thought I was good because I can speak 3. Which is
9.
very unheard of for an English person, but 9, wow,
9.
Mind blown.
9. And then we have Kevin Turner, who says LinkedIn has really opened many to global market, Tracy and Gillian. Absolutely true. And he's another world traveler, and you'll meet Kevin soon. So that's nice. So quick question. Speaking of events, and I know we don't have a ton of time to really kind of go do it justice, but events, how would you differ your strategy with events versus the groups?
Okay, I'll try and talk really quickly. So I do a lot of LinkedIn audio rooms. I do 1 a month, but I'm the host of them. I have different people on. They've grown over the last 18 months. So on some of them, I have 800 people. On some of them, I have 50. It depends on the subject and how busy people are. LinkedIn audio are really, really good for growing your audience. After every LinkedIn audio that I do, again, I grow my audience by probably another 50 to 100 people, as does my guest. It again shows me as a thought leader in certain subjects. It opens up, a whole new bunch of people to me on LinkedIn, and it just generally helps me grow my audience. Not as much as groups, but my LinkedIn audio rooms do get me leads, they do get my guest leads, and they do grow our connections. So I quite like LinkedIn audio. They're less pressure than a LinkedIn live because you don't have to be on camera. The downside of a LinkedIn audio is that they do not record. So you don't have the opportunity to replay it or repurpose it. My top tip is events, not running them, but finding people in them. So say, for example, you want to sell something about Lean Six Sigma. So say I want to sell my Lean Six Sigma courses. If I go into the search bar on the top of LinkedIn and type in Lean Six Sigma, and then click on the little tab underneath that says events, that tells me all of the events that are happening about Lean Six Sigma. I can then, on the events tab, narrow it down to locations and things like that. I can then see there's an event happening, free Lean Six Sigma seminar for Greenbelt, and there's 2,000 people attending it. I can click attend. Okay. I'm never going to attend it, but I can click attend. All those 2,000 people then become available to me, just like the group. And I can message them without being connected. And I can then look at those 2,000 people and I can think, okay, are any of them heads of L&D? Are any of them heads of process improvement? Are any of them in Dubai or the UK? And I can filter that down. And then I can reach out to them and say, hey, we're both attending this event. Or I can wait till after the event and say, hey, I missed it. How was it? And they'll say, oh, I missed it too. And I'll say, well, don't worry, because we've got a load of free stuff on that. Would you like it? And events are brilliant places to find ideal clients. You type what it is you're selling into that search bar, click on events, and there's your ideal customer base attending those events.
Wow. It's like the ultimate networking tool.
And I don't ever attend these events, because you can attend, you can join and leave an event as much as you want. But once you join that event, that database of who else is attending it becomes available to you. And that's a shared topic you can talk about then, either before the event or after the event. You could say, look, I notice you're attending this event. You're obviously interested in this subject. We have a portal on our website with a load of free information in this. Would you like access to it? So events to me are a fantastic place, again, to find leads and ideal clients.
Love that. Brilliant.
And of course, if you run one yourself, you then get all of the data. And then you've got that on your database. You can then put all that information onto your database. So events, LinkedIn Lives, LinkedIn audios, groups, very underused, fantastic sources of leads.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, I love it. So we have reached the end of our 30 minutes. This was like, I have to have you come back again, Tracy, because this was absolutely brilliant. So final takeaway, is there something that you'd want to just like leave us with as that final message for us today?
The one thing I want to go back to is one thing I said to one of your other people when he said, how do I start growing my business? Before you dip into groups, before you dip into, you know, doing lives and things like this, you've got to make sure on the platform you are portraying what you want people to see. So don't go jumping into groups, and then if people come to your profile and it's rubbish, you're wasting your time. So get your profile right, get your strategy right, get your posts right before you jump into doing these things, so that when people do find you in groups and they do find you in events or on lives and they come to your profile to find out more about you, it's a good ambassador for you.
Very wise, very wise. It's like, make sure you're ready for showtime. I love it.
Get things in order and get some free giveaways. There is a better way. There's a better word of this. I'm not a marketing person. You had, who did you have on?
Lead magnets. Lead magnets.
Yeah, lead magnets. That was the word. Get some good lead magnets in place. So when you do interact with them, you've got some lead magnets to give to them. Freebies, as I call them.
Right. Oh, brilliant. Okay. Well, I already know I want to book you again and have you back, because this was just so brilliant.
My pleasure. So
thank you so much. And thank you just very much.
I'll see you in person in March.
I know, Uplift Live. So everybody join us. We're both going to be there. And that's going to be an amazing, talk about amazing event to meet people. That is going to be the most amazing event ever. So I'm so excited. And Louise will be there, and Tina will be there. So and Kevin will be,
and Kevin,
and John and Kevin. It's going to be
loads of people.
Loads of people. So we'll say goodbye, everybody, right now, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.